Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what is the final meeting of the municipal year for our corporate services and cost of living scrutiny review board. We have a good agenda tonight to finish off, so we'll just get straight into it. First item, any apologies? I'm not aware of any. No, excellent. Second item, any late items? Again, not aware of any late items. Item number 3, declarations of interest. Any declarations? Excellent. Minutes held at the meeting on the 5th of December 2023. Everyone happy with the minutes? Great. So we will kick straight into our first report of the evening, which is on artificial intelligence from our Head of Digital Enablement.
Thanks, Chair. Hi, everybody. My name's Lee Haynes, Head of Digital Enablement and Automation. So I'm here tonight to give you all an update on where the Council is on its artificial intelligence journey. So the story so far, so in 2023, in sort of April, May time, the Council went live with its web chat offering with Darcy and Ali going live in April, followed by the month later going live with the phone lines in May. After the success of those two offerings, the Council discussed at the Delivery Board about what other opportunities AI could do for the Council. So we agreed a number of scoping sessions with ICS.ai and held 44 workshops during the summer. 261 AI candidates were identified, and out of those offerings, 54 were chosen as proposed solutions that could deliver efficiencies and savings for the Council. These were presented in November to CLT, and the Cabinet report presented in December to approve the next phase of AI. And as recently as mid-February, the new contract was signed with ICS.ai. So co-pilots is a word that everyone will start to hear quite a lot of over the next few months and years. Now, what can they do for Derby? Now, an AI co-pilot is the name given to systems which use emerging generative AI technology to help people deliver business services, for example, by collecting and analysing data from a number of sources far quicker than a human can. It's called a co-pilot because the idea is it's a helpful assistant, but it's always guided by a person. So the programme that we're going to introduce will have 5 co-pilots. So the first is in customer services. So customer services automation enhances accessibility, response time and efficiency, providing round-the-clock access with streamlined payments, simplified applications and improved care triage. In the adult social care space, it'll be about enhancing user experience and outcomes, boost efficiency and improve care worker skills. Similarly, in children's services, integrating AI into children's services can transform operations, reducing paperwork, providing faster responses to families, and improving case handling and teamwork. There'll be an internal staff co-pilot which can dramatically enhance productivity, streamline workflows, and improve service quality. And towards the end of the programme, there'll be an IT support co-pilot that will help with handling IT queries and support 24/7. So the AI transformation roadmap is an 18-month programme split into 3 phases. Phase 1 is for 4 months and will cover adult social care, external co-pilot, customer service co-pilot, a wider staff co-pilot and debt management. Phase 2 will follow afterwards, which is for 8 months, and that's on the proviso of the successful delivery of Phase 1. That will cover children's services external co-pilot, adult social care internal co-pilot, and a customer services and additional skills. And at that point, we'll bring Derby Homes on board too with their co-pilots. Phase 3, which again is dependent on Cabinet approval on the success of Phase 1 and Phase 2, is at the moment scope to introduce revs and bends skills, look at information governance and IT, as I mentioned on the previous slide, and also introduce the Children's Services Co-Pilot. The way we've scoped these 3 phases is phase 1 will concentrate on the bigger savings and opportunities for the council early on in the programme. So when fully delivered, the programme should deliver £12.25 million worth of savings annually, and that's with a capital investment over the 3 phases of just over £3 million. So the savings that are targeted in the 24-25 MTFP total 3.925 million. So the reason why this is lower than the 12.25 is that the AI models need to be created and savings will have a partial year effect, so conservative amounts have been calculated to 24-25, and the 3.925 million is broken down over the following 3 areas. So there'll be some around cost reduction and right sizing, particularly in the social care space where we've got care packages that with contracts that will be reduced and right-sized accordingly. So the savings will come from those spaces. There's a couple that involve time and efficiency savings, and they'll be handled by vacancy management. So we've already got a plan over the first 2 phases to start to deliver the savings in that space. And then the final 2 savings for 24-25 are around revenue collection, around generating more income for the council. So for the session tonight, I'm just going to talk more about phase 1 of the programme. So the way that we're going to look at it from a governance perspective, we're going to have 3 overarching boards. So the first one is the overarching programme board, which Paul Simpson will be the SRO on, given the importance for the council. And that will be backed up by 2 important boards. One is the compliance board, which will look at ethics and good practice, which I'll come to shortly. And then the second one, given it's an IT project, there'll be an IT steering board to make sure all the relevant IT aspects are covered as well. And then, as I've mentioned previously, phase 1, the projects that are in the scope of phase 1 around customer services and the wider council, adult social care, and income management. So the AI Compliance Board, we're setting up a compliance board to monitor the programme and ensure that we use AI tools in a way that are fair, legal and considerate to everyone. The areas that it will cover are policy development and review, ethical oversight, which is really key. So it's about establishing ethical guidelines for the AI interactions to prevent bias and unethical content, especially concerning vulnerable individuals. Human in the loop, which is another key one. We'll always make sure there's a human in the loop. AI should make recommendations and humans should make the decisions. Other elements that the compliance board will cover are around data management, performance, training and development, technology assessment and risk management. So I'm just going to talk briefly around the projects in phase 1. It's quite a complex slide, this one. So we're around adult social care, the section in the middle around the co-pilot personality skills. These are going to be the deliverables for phase 1 around adult social care. So around inquiry management and signposting, contact assessments, unscheduled reviews, safeguarding inquiries, self-service financial assessments, benefits maximisation, shared lives inquiries and inquiries inbox management. Around customer, you'll see this is quite a complex one. So at the moment we've got Darcy and Ali as our sort of chatbots and web bots that we've got live at the moment. We're going to really push these forward and they'll become proper generative AI chatbots and web bots and be able to have conversations with customers. So the areas that we'll be covering here in the customer services area is inquiry management and signposting. We're going to start looking at some proper interactions with gold card requests, blue badge requests, residential bin inquiries, parking permits, bulky collection requests, and similar to the adult social care, looking at inbox management. As part of the wider staff co-pilot piece, which falls under this work stream as well, we're going to start having an internal equivalent of Darcy and Ali, which will look at the following areas and be able to assist staff with areas such as digital services, comms and marketing, procurement, facilities management, HR, occupational health, health and safety, legal, information governance, finance, and strategy and performance. Now, what the wider staff co-pilot will be able to do is where people have to call people and speak to relevant people within teams, they will have all that information available to them by having the chatbots available internally. And then the final project within phase 1 is around income management, which is focusing primarily to start with on debt management analytics and debt consolidation. So one of the important things we've sort of introduced since the introduction of Darcy and Ali is customer feedback. It's really heart of what we're going to do in the AI space. A couple of the council sessions that councillor sessions before Christmas just showed how important that was around setting up something so that councillors can feedback messages and concerns from the constituents, so we can start improving and making tweaks to the system. So we're going to introduce over the next few months, well, in the next month or so, being able to use the councillor portal to submit feedback, so we can have that real interaction with councillors. There's the community testing groups that we're in the process of setting up, which will work with our communities to help test and review the new AI solutions as they come on board. We're working with colleagues in the Access to the Equality and Inclusion Hub and a range of forums to ensure that all services are accessible for all. And again, we want to monitor any complaints that we get in and really come back with feedback and how things can be improved and how users can be helped to, and customers to help use the system. One of the key bits for me, though, is around continuous service improvement and the review regime. So we will continually do this and have done since the go live of Darcy and Ali, and we'll do this as part of the AI programme going forwards, where every feedback that we get, we look at and we improve the system. Darcy and Ali have come on so much since we went live in April last year, and we'll continue to do that over the next few months of the programme. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. I'll start with Councillor Repton.
Looking at the actual savings target in 24-25, MTFP, it talks about in people services the use of AI to reduce the need for residential placement, keeping clients in the community, saving £125,000. Can you just sort of give us a bit of colour and context how we feel that AI will help reduce the need for residential placements?
Yeah, no, thank you. Good question, Councillor Repton. I've not got the full detail to hand on this one, but this is around cost reduction in the number of residential placements that are needed by looking at care assessments and improving those in that space. I haven't got any more detail on that one specifically to hand, but I can come back to you with that one. Thank you.
Councillor Pandy.
Thank you. I just want to understand, obviously you have done some testing like you're saying, but the feedback what we are getting from the residents is that they're not liking either Ali or Darcy. It's really difficult to get through. How does it work? So if someone calls, have you tried calling Ali or Darcy? So if there's they need some assistance with the care or something, how long they would be with the Darcy or Ali if they're making a call?
So again, another good question. So at the moment, Darcy and Ali use the first generation of AI. So there's a scripted list of about 1,000 questions which are pre-programmed. So if customers and residents call Darcy or an Ali and ask those questions, they'll get the answer. The difference with the project that we're putting in over the next few months is this is where the term generative AI comes in. So what will happen over the next few months is when you call Darcy and Ali, instead of Darcy and Ali having to know what question you're asking, you'll be able to have a proper conversation with them. So they'll be pointed at, say, a website with full of information around everything that the customer needs to know. And any question that the customer asks them, they'll be able to, it'll go away, find the answer and have that proper interaction with them. A good example that we've seen as part of the proof of concept is on the registration services website of the council. We saw a test video where the engineer called Darcy or Ali and were asking questions around the registration service. So they were asking things like, you know, who do I need to bring with me to register my child's birth? And it was going away, finding the answer, bringing it back. When's the registry office open? Is it closed on a Sunday? Where is the registry office? So things that you wouldn't be able to ask Darcy or Ali at the moment, they're the developments that are coming over the next few months. So that's the massive improvement that we're making.
Sorry, just to follow up. So if, like with AI, the common problem is, can you repeat, I don't understand. This question is not in the, so that happens with a lot of AI. So if there's an urgent call from someone who needs, you know, something, maybe it's they live in a residential care where no boiling, no hot water is there.
Yeah.
So if it continuously struggles to understand the accent or what they're saying, then what happens?
So one of the improvements that we've put in recently in the last 3 or 4 weeks is around auto transfer. So if customers call and want to speak about something really urgent, such as homelessness, urgent repairs, bereavement services, those calls come in. Darcy and Ali now recognise that they need to be put through to a person and transfer them straight away, obviously during opening hours, which wasn't there before. So that's a massive step forward in those urgent use cases.
Again, my question, not even question, like my doubt would be, what if it doesn't work? We are making an assumption, or we just relying on how accurate this technology would be.
So what we're doing here, we're adding an additional channel. So all the legacy channels that the people can communicate with the council are still there. So if Darcy or Ali can't understand the customer, or they're not getting the answer, they will always get the opportunity to speak to a human during opening hours. Likewise, the face-to-face service within the council are still there, as is email and you know, letters.
I will go to Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Thanks, Lee, for the presentation. It's encouraging to see that they're setting up an AI Programme and Governance Board, which I don't think was there previously, was it? I think also community testing groups. I think previously they weren't. That wasn't introduced, and I think the approach that was taken by the previous administration when they passed it through back in November 22, that now we've got actually these steps in to add some governance to that. So yeah, I sort of welcome that. The only sort of questions I've got is in terms of like the adult social care. So we have got assurances that that this is going to be human intervention at that decision step. There's not going to be. So people need to be assured that somebody will check that decision that's outputted, basically.
Yeah, most definitely. That is key to all of this. And I'll repeat, you know, everything that AI does is recommended. There'll be tolerance levels set on different projects. So obviously in the adult social care and children's care space, that confidence level that the AI will be set at will be very high, because it's got to be right, because they're the risky areas. Whereas potentially in sort of low risk areas, I know, say waste, for example, there might be a lower confidence level of what the AI would recommend. But again, it's key that it will always be humans making the decisions. And touching on your points about the compliance board and the community groups, yeah, you're spot on that they're new introductions of what we've learnt since the introduction of Darcy and Ali, and they're going to be key to making sure that everything's done in an ethical and fair way throughout the course of the programme. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Wilson touched on the point that I was going to raise specifically on adult social care, and when let's look at the list of co-pilot personality skills. All right, it's slightly blurry on mine. Yeah, I mean, you've got areas such as safeguarding where, you know, of course it's essential that no mistakes are made, but as you've said, there's assurance there that there will be a human element involved in that process. But just on the term co-pilot personality skills, could you just shed some light, so specifically on adult social care and say safeguarding, what does that personality skill look like? What role is AI playing there? I assume it's not a Darcy and Ali sort of
So
engagement.
they're going to be two elements to this. So one is a front end chatbot and web chat similar to Darcy now. It may be called Darcy. That those decisions haven't been made yet, but where people will be able to ask for information around adult social care. And look at around safeguarding and have that interaction, which currently isn't there at the moment. So that's one element of there's two main strands within this one. So the first one is that web chat and phone chat element for adult social care, and then the second one is more of an internal co-pilot to help the social workers, so they can concentrate on the more complex cases. So that there'll be things. It sort of crosses over with the customer services ones around translation of documents, looking at legal documentation to help adult social care workers. So there'll be two elements. One is the web chat and for customers, and the other is the internal co-pilot that will assist social workers.
So when the adult social care chatbot is introduced, say somebody contacts the council with a safeguarding issue, is it going to be the case that their first port of call is going to be a chatbot?
It could be. However, what we're also introducing at the same time on another project is bringing in a safeguarding portal as part of the social care system. So there'll be a number of mechanisms for people to be able to report that safeguarding issue. If it comes in via the chatbot, it will be sent through to a human to look at it and make that decision on next steps.
I just had one other point, Councillor Pandy, then I'll come to you. The other point I just wanted to touch on was around recovery of existing debt. I assume part of that is the council chasing debt potentially from residents. And, you know, again, that's an issue where, you know, receiving a letter chasing debt can be, you know, a stressful experience for many, especially, you know, there are, of course, instances where those debtors might not necessarily be 100% accurate. Is AI going to be used here to effectively pick up on the system and auto-generate debt recovery? So, you know, could someone flag up on the system, AI picks it up, and a letter, for an example, is automatically produced and sent out? Because just, you know, looking at it from that point of view, it seems that there is a risk there in terms of, you know, mistakes being made. So is there a human element going to be involved in that?
Yes, there will definitely be a human element. And this is where the importance of the compliance board would come in. Because as these projects are fully designed and scoped, ready to start being delivered, they'll go to the compliance board to sign off to make sure everything we're doing is ethical, doesn't cause concern to customers and residents, and we make sure that, you know, the information that we've got is of a high confidence level for the council workers to make appropriate decisions.
Councillor Pandy.
So I'm sure, I'm assuming that many complaints must have been received by now, people who don't like the AI thing. So how is council keeping track of all these complaints, comments and feedback? How have they been fed to you?
We haven't actually had that too many, you know, official complaints. We're keeping track of those, and we're reporting back in terms of our internal governance within the project on the improvements that we're making. So every time somebody does make a complaint, we'll go back to them, offer them, you know, advice in terms of if it's something that they're not quite doing to use the system correctly. However, if there's genuine issues with the system, we take that feedback on board and fix things such as the auto transfer skill within, you know, urgent areas such as homelessness and urgent repairs.
Sorry, just one more. So I just want to understand, so an elderly person called up the council, how long can it take for AI to register that this is an urgent call and needs something, you know, it needs to be transferred to a human? How is there a data on that?
So what we've done at the moment, I think there's four categories of, I think there's homelessness, urgent repairs, death and bereavement services, and I think, is it stray dogs? they're the urgent areas that we've got at the moment. If somebody rings up and talks about those, they'll go through to the relevant team, and Darcy and Ali will know that that's an urgent call and needs to be transferred. Going forward, we can change and tweak the solution given all the circumstances. But obviously, what we've got to make sure is that people who can use the solutions carry on and do it, and don't just necessarily just ask to speak to somebody just to get transferred. So hopefully, people who can use the solution can get the answers and carry on with their day, and then that leaves the more vulnerable and complex residents to be able to get the needs that they want from customer services.
Sorry, I still don't get it. Is there like a time element involved with this kind of emergency situations?
Okay, so the first 3 or 4 that we've gone live with, they go through instantly. So as soon as you say, I've got an urgent repair or I'm homeless, the solution will say, right, you need to speak to the such and such team and transfer you straight away. If you call up and said something, but it's not one of those areas, it would take about 30 or 40 seconds to ask you a couple more questions just to work out what area you want to talk to, and then at the relevant point, if Darcy and Ali thinks they can't help you, at that point they'll transfer you. So I've not got an exact time, but it's within a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the type of question.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. It's just picking up from Councillor Panda's first point about complaints. I know we've got on item 6, customer engagement, there's going to be a bigger discussion about complaints on that item. But it's just in terms of improvement of the system. If you could give me an idea of, is that monthly? Do you review them monthly, weekly, every 2 weeks?
So we've got a monthly sort of improvement board that meets internally within IT and involves customer management and the various teams that are live with Darcy and Ali. So as things crop up, we'll put those fixes in and work with the partner to get those done, instantly. Again, touching on the ones that we've done recently, such as the auto transfer. We're working on an implementation of live chat, so more complex queries. If the web bots can't help with those, it'll put them through to a person to be able to help via the web, the live chat facility. So we've got a whole host of developments. Some of them we've paused specifically because of this new program that we're implementing, because the generative AI solutions that we're putting in will just overtake what we've done on Darcy and Ali massively and just lead the council forward to a really good situation.
I just had a final question on the target savings for 24-25 financial year, which I think you said was a bit over 3 million for that first phase. Looking at the areas in phase 1 that you're looking to implement AI in, it seems like we're still a reasonable time off fully bringing AI into these areas. But that £3 million pound saving in phase 1 isn't an insignificant figure. The start of the financial year, I can't remember if we've already started or about to start the new financial year. How far into the 24-25 financial year is it going to be before we see all of these AI systems up and running? And with that target saving, has that factor been included that it might not be until after the summer or towards the end of 2024 when these systems are all up and operational? And I guess as a final point as well, have you taken into account teething problems with the systems as part of that target saving? Because we've got that headline figure of 3 million, but at the moment it just seems like we're still quite a long way off bringing these systems in to phase 1 to meet that target.
No, really good question. So a couple of points on that. We've recently signed the contract about 2 weeks ago. So phase 1 has initially kicked off already, and that's a 4-month time frame. So that should start delivering the savings around April, May, June time, that sort of time, depending on which project kicked off at what point. The savings was a conservative figure based on the workshops that we held, and they've been checked by finance. So potentially the opportunity for savings are a lot higher than the 3.925 million, and they're based on a partial year effect. So again, once fully delivered, it will be over potentially over 12 million. So we've deliberately gone lower in terms of the savings, although they're significant figures, lower than what potentially is available. We, as part of the project, we've got a role within the council and within the AI partner to look at the benefits and make sure that the council is on track to deliver the savings over the course of the programme. So again, I've had a meeting today where we've discussed how the benefit realisation will be made, and we've really kicked that off to make sure that if there's anything that's going to be an issue or a problem to sort of deliver those savings, they get flagged up early. So we've got opportunities to try and fix them.
Great. Any more questions on AI? Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it. We will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is customer engagement update.
Hi everybody, I'm Jane Withrow, Head of Customer Engagement and Registration Services. That does include council tax, housing benefits and business rates as well. They like to keep me busy. So I've been asked to come and give you a kind of an update on customer management, give you a bit of information about how it works. You sport my thunder a bit with complaints, but I'll go through some stats so that you've got some information. Again, you've sport my thunder a bit about the AI feedback, but there's a bit more detail about what we do on the front line with the feedback that we get. And then there's an update on the blue badges. Unfortunately, my colleague Rob Shoebridge was going to present, but we can't dial him in. So I'll run through the slides, so forgive me if I'm not 100% with those, but I'll do my very best. So customer management is, I'm sure you've heard the term Derby Direct. Derby Direct is made up of two teams. We have our front of house team, which you see in our reception, and then we have a telephony team that sits in the back office and works in a hybrid fashion from home as well. The front of house team deal with customers on a face-to-face basis. They deal daily with our most vulnerable citizens and also deal with quite a lot of aggressive presentations as well. Our security teams support them with that, and also we make sure that their well-being is dealt with so that they're not taking on too much from those kind of interactions. They will also process manually requests for gold cards and parking permits, and they will offer digital assistant support to those people that perhaps aren't very confident, that perhaps want to have a go but they're not sure, so they'll do it with not doing two. We've got some self-service pods downstairs, so they'll help them with those, either point them in the right direction or stand with them while they're doing whatever they need to do. And also they'll signpost to the correct services. We even get people that come in not asking about council services, but we'll always do our best to make sure that we can point them in the right direction. We've tried to adopt the ethos that it's never a wasted journey. So even if we can't help you at the time, that customer will go away knowing either where they need to go or what they need to do. We're working closely with our customer reference group that's come from the Disability Forum, and making sure that we support our disabled customers and our sensory impaired residents to access services. We've taken feedback from the customer reference group, and while we've carried out an audit to see how well we're doing, there's always improvements that we can make, and they've already pointed out a few things that we can make some changes on to improve how they can access services and just get around that public area. So that's working really well. Obviously we provide translation services for our non-English speaking customers, and the self-service PCs will translate to other languages, so it makes it easier for our non-English speaking residents to contact the council. And we obviously treat our LGBTQ plus customers with respect and dignity that they deserve. We also, our frontline team are also trained in autism and neurodiversity, so that it helps them recognise people that present that may struggle to interact in a public place. It's a bit overwhelming coming into a building like this. So we have sensory borrow bags that can just help them with the little fiddle toys and different sensory things. It just helps them to calm down. So if they're waiting to see somebody or they're trying to do something that's causing them a bit of stress, things like that can just help them calm so that they can try and we will support them to access the services. So our telephony team, obviously we take calls about a wide range of council services. The telephony team in Derby Direct are where the callers, if they've been through Darcy or Ali and they've not got the answer that they need or they need to speak to a person, this is the human in the loop that they will get through to. And because of that, we are finding that Darcy and Ali are dealing with the frequently asked questions, the simple information type of things. So the calls that are coming through to our advisors are the more complex queries, or for those people that perhaps they're not understanding what's being told, so the human on the end of the phone is able to help them through that. The deflection rate that we are seeing, i.e. the percentage of the calls that Darcy is dealing with, is 40%. Initially, we weren't seeing that translate into the actual calls coming into the contact centre, and I think that that's because people were repeat calling. So the calls were going up, and we were getting quite a lot of people still coming through to us. But now we've actually seen that our reduction calls into the contact centre have reduced by 40%. Back in, let me just get my stats for you here. Back in November 22, we were handling approximately 850 calls a day. December 23, which is when our data goes up to at the moment, we're handling 500 calls a day. So that is a drop of 40%. In regard to our calls abandoned, in January 23, our call abandon rate was 20%, and the average wait time for a call to be picked up was 5 minutes. In June 23, just after the introduction of Darcy, we saw that abandonment rate increase to about 30%, with an average pick-up time of their call went up to 12 minutes. But in December 23, we're back down to about a 20% call abandonment rate, which we were at in January, and the call wait times are just over 8 minutes. That does fluctuate. Some services are busier than others, but on average, they are the wait times now. So online, obviously, as Lee's touched on, we've got Darcy and Ali that are on the web. They've dealt with over 40,000 queries. Darcy and Ali, our phone bots, they've dealt with over 500,000 queries. Sorry, yes, and the responses that when you are talking to Darcy or Ali, many of the responses that the bot provides will provide a link to a website. So if the caller can access online services, it will point them in the direction where they can find out more information for themselves if they want to. We have the My Account still. That means that you can sign up for personalised updates and you can interact with the services directly. And many of the services now have got a digital offer. As I've said, the current deflection rate is 40%, and we are seeing people that, because we can check we can match up email addresses and phone numbers, we can see that people who are calling Darcy are then actually going on to submit an online form. So we are shifting some people online, which is better, it's more efficient, but we're still seeing people come through to us if they need to. So, there's still that human in the loop. And interestingly, 88% of those people that are calling us through Darcy on the phone are actually calling from a smart device. So the future direction of customer management, we're looking at bringing in a single front door by rationalising the hundreds of contact points that we've got across the council. It just means it's more efficient, it's consistent service. It will go through Darcy so that we can free up a lot more time in the back office services. We'll continue to work with the customer reference group and community groups such as the testing and getting feedback, inviting them in so that we can sit down, have a chat and get their experience of the customer journey. And as Lee talked about, there's going to be the internal version of Darcy and Ali for staff support. The new version of Darcy and Ali, which we're just tagging at the moment to Super Darcy is going to be a lot more intelligent and will have a much wider span. And we are looking to use AI, not Darcy, AI, for the fulfilment of the request for gold cards, blue badges and managing inboxes. Again, that was covered by Lee's project. But again, we want to stress that we are maintaining our face-to-face service channels and our telephone contact channels. Those traditional channels are not going away. So moving on to complaints, I'm going to focus on the corporate complaints because adults and the CYP are really complex. So it's just easier to kind of gauge the corporate complaints. So the process is a customer will submit a case, either online, over the phone, they can write in, they can email. That case will come into Derby Direct and we will allocate it to the correct service for it to be investigated. We don't do the investigation, it's the service's responsibility. So this is the cases by directorate. Community in place are up there with about half of them at 456. Corporate resources are about 217. This is in the previous year, last year. People's, you can see Send and CYP, and adult social care. I've got about 25% of those. So case by service area, in the corporate services, you've got council tax way up at the top, followed by customer management, parking services, blue badge, grounds maintenance, and then it kind of tails off with parks, housing benefits, and other is where there's the odd one or two. And this is the cause of complaints. The highest cause is service quality, followed by service delay, then followed by staff conduct or behaviour, then followed by service failure, poor or lack of communication, and service access, refusal or reduction of services. Again, that then tails off to the odd few. For corporate complaints, the response time is 10 working days, and you can see here that for 75% of those cases, they're hitting that target, with 25% of those being taking a little bit longer. One of the reasons that that might be is it may be a bit more complex, so they may ask, we can agree an extension with the complainant, just to say we need a bit more time than the 10 days. But that's always agreed with the complainant before we go ahead with that. And then the outcomes, so whether a complaint is upheld, so you can see there 29% of the complaints we've upheld, or we've agreed that the customer was right and we were wrong. Partially upheld is 21%, and about half are not upheld. So for complaints in the future, AI is going to bring into scope those customer interactions, such as direct contacts into the service, where it may be a customer's complaining, they've called the service directly, it may not be picked up through the corporate complaints case, but actually it's important to realise that that is still a complaint and it's either been resolved or it's been explained that it's not a complaint. So we'll have a complete and full picture of what our customers are telling us. And there is new legislation emerging. Our LGO, the Local Government Ombudsman, there's a consultation out at the moment, and they're wanting to improve or reduce the response times so that we have to acknowledge slightly quicker and that we respond within fewer days. So the AI will help us to kind of keep in line with that. So the feedback, from a customer management point of view, the feedback that we get around AI, we collect the feedback from many sources. One is the complaints. The actual figure, we've had 36 complaints about the Darcy and Ali into customer management. We get feedback from staff members who use it or test it. Obviously the media coverage, we'll look into any reports in the media that we get. We test and continuously learn. I will sit there and I'll download a transcript and I will check line by line the conversations, and I'll pick out those where that didn't work very well. That was really good, actually. Yeah, we can see that needs improving. That was a really good conversation. So, and I'll feed that into the digital team that can feed into the provider. And we'll take the feedback from members. As Lee said, that portal is going to be set up soon. We do take all feedback and complaints seriously. Where we can, if we've got a phone number and a date, I will go in and I'll check that conversation, and we can see the average call into Darcy is about 2 minutes. So that's either getting the answer that they need or being transferred through to a service. Sometimes it can get stuck in a loop. Sometimes the confidence level isn't that high, so Darcy will ask the customer to repeat or rephrase the question. So that can take a bit longer. So again, those are ones that we can see line by line what happens. So we can either feed back to the customer or we can feed into ICS so that they can make those improvements. And they can feed this in so that Darcy and Ali continuously learn. They're learning Derby phrases as well. Yes, so as Lee said, we use the feedback to go into the development roadmap. We'll pass it on to ICS, our partner, to make those improvements. They can feed the different ways that people ask questions so that Darcy understands a broader way that people will ask things now. It was very contained, wasn't it, Lee, to start off with? And we kind of are interacting with other councils about what they're doing. Although we're right at the front and we're the innovation, other councils are coming on board and we're kind of liaising with those. We're going to continue working with the reference groups. And as I said, Darcy can understand that wider customer language. And where we can see that perhaps the customer's perception of their call, somebody did say that I've been talking to Darcy for an hour, couldn't get through to anybody. When I've gone back to the transcript, that call was actually 2 minutes. And unfortunately, they'd called outside of the opening times, so they weren't able to be transferred to somebody. But it's just explaining that so that the customer understands why they had that experience. And it always feels like you're waiting longer on the phone than you actually are, whoever you call. So that's the end of the customer engagement piece. I'll move on to Rob's slides for Blue Badge now. So the Blue Badge moved into parking services from the 1st of December to help tackle the backlog. It was 20 weeks wait when it moved over. So one of the things that the team did was to reduce unnecessary steps. They found that there was a high amount of data being copied in between systems, and they thought that this wasn't necessary. One system was enough to help with the record keeping. And they've stopped uploading documents. It can be saved in one system, not multiple systems, so that has really helped. So it's made a reduction in redundant data, which is better GDPR compliance. It's reduced the steps, which has led to faster data entry. And by using a simpler system, it's reduced the technical support calls. And they've made better use of the resources that they've got. So the revenue protection team have got great experience in processing and chasing payments, and they now order hundreds of Blue Badges per week after payment has been made. The Blue Badge team are now focused on the application process, such as non-automatic assessments, on data entry, direct inquiries, and other stages that directly reduce the backlog. So I've got the revenue protection officers, the RPOs, they now order all the badges. This means that they're ordered quicker and independently of the rest of the team that are processing the applications. And it means that the assessment team can focus on that approval process, and they've all got their own set tasks. And they've also streamlined the process. So they've assessed the letters that were used to send out for contact to request payments, and they've just made it clearer so customers can find it easier to pay. And they've used Outlook letter templates for payment as well. It's just meant that there's less confusion when customers receive these, and it's quicker payment turnaround. So those payments are happening quicker. It's reduced the chance of incorrect names being used on payment requests and the confirmation, so you can match up the payments to the applicant. And it means that there's been fewer calls because they're turning the applications around a lot quicker. And also not paying the wrong authority, which used to happen. And it's reduced the time to complete an assessment once we've got that further information. So some figures that Rob has provided. So since the middle of December, the backlog's been reduced from 20 weeks to 4 weeks for non-automatic assessments, and automatic assessments are now being processed without any backlog at all. The chart on the right shows the difference in backlog for auto and non-auto over just 1 month, and the automatic is the yellow sections and the non-automatic is the green sections. So automatic is where a customer is in receipt of PIP under a certain element. That automatically means that they qualify for a blue badge. A non-automatic assessment may mean where we need a consultant letter or proof of medication or proof of a condition so that we can then assess and make a decision. So the eligible new automatic applicants use the government portal, and that badge is delivered within a month. The eligible new non-automatic applicants using the portal can expect to receive their badge within 8 weeks. The blue badge email inbox has gone from a backlog of 2 months, and that's now up to date for general responses. And further information emails are being dealt with, and that's between 20 and 40 cases a day. The government to-do list for new online applications has gone from over 1,000 requiring data entry to just down to 173 as of the 13th of February. So that's a great effort to get that down. Rob's team have done really well. And over 200 online applications submitted after the January the 1st have already been processed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Just to comment on the blue badge section at the end, because it was a section that I'd specifically requested, was added. I'm sure as councillors we've all had residents get in touch regarding the backlog that has sort of been in place over the past couple of years. But yeah, looking at the progress that's been made now, it seems like you know, the team's really got back on top of it now, which is great. So thank you for that. Any questions from any other councillors? Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Jane, for the presentation. And yeah, first of all, Councillor Preston said it's fantastic work bringing that reduction down in the processing of the blue badges. Just want to pick up on service levels. Does the council have service level times in terms of when somebody calls that you're going to pick up the call within so many? No.
We used to, and it's not a measure that we have in place now. We went from having a quantity kind of measure to having a quality kind of measure, and making sure that we will try and fulfil that whatever we needed to do within that call, and that may mean it takes a bit longer, but it means the customer doesn't have to call back. So it may mean that there's a bit of a wait, but we'd rather get it right first time.
And also, in terms of, I think you touched upon, we talked about sort of the quality checking of Darcy and Ali. In terms of sort of quality checking of the human aspect of it, how's that done?
We will take cases from systems that have been inputted into. At the moment, we can't listen into calls, but we will be able to listen. When we are in the office with the customer service advisors, we will listen. But there are a set number of quality checks that we will do, and that might be, we will take a missed bin report. We'll make sure that they've filled it out completely, that they've got all the bits of information that they need to. We'll check emails to make sure that the response is correct, there's no spelling mistakes, that it answers the question or provides the information that's been asked for. So it's making sure that they are doing what the customer needs them to do.
And just my last one. So in terms of the complaints about Darcy and Ali, how many of those from members?
I don't know, but I can go away and find out for sure. Yeah, it is arranged that there are old, young, members, non-members. So yeah, I'll get that information for you.
Councillor Court.
Thank you for your presentation. I've got just a couple of questions. I was just looking at the the graph you've included about complaints and what the cause of the complaints were, so service quality, service delay. I don't know, you might not be able to shed light because of confidentiality rules and whatever, but what kind of, because it seems quite a high figure for service quality, if I was just to guess, I would probably put service quality and delay into one, but so what's the difference? So what kind of issues in the service quality are we facing?
It may be that someone has asked for a service and they've not got it when they expected it to.
Okay.
Quality may be, so it's and there's a fine line between service failure, service quality and service delay, and that also depends on which service it is. I can dig out some examples and just let you know how we perhaps categorise them.
Yeah, thank you, that'd be great. And then just another quick one. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. This might apply to the previous presentation as well, but I was just about the customer and focus groups. What are we doing to ensure that we seek a wide array of communities and people in the area? Because often people that will volunteer for such things might be more capable or might have certain personality traits. So what are we doing to make sure that we target the most vulnerable in society as well?
Customer focus group is made up of not only disabled people, but people from different ethnic minorities, backgrounds, young, old. It has been highlighted that perhaps there's not a wider range of representation, so we are seeking and inviting other people to that. We're also reaching out to the local area coordinators who are based across the city, so that we've got feedback from different areas as well.
One figure that jumped out to me, and I think I wrote it down right when you said it, is so your team have only had 36 direct complaints regarding AI, which kind of stood out because when I think about some things I see online from residents, and we obviously think about the media coverage that AI has, in the context of all of that, 36 is a very minimal figure. And is that since Darcy and Ali were first introduced to date?
Yeah, so these figures are from the 1st of April last year. Darcy was introduced in May last year. So it's 36 formal complaints. We've had a couple of comments which are either from someone that has not provided their details, so we can't respond to them. We can't class it as a formal complaint. We do get feedback on the phone, so once a customer's been through Darcy and Ali, and they end up with an advisor, they'll say, oh, perhaps, that wasn't great, I didn't get the answer that I wanted to, but they don't convert into formal complaints. Those people that have taken the time to write to us because they've been dissatisfied, that is 36. Yeah.
Councillor Pandy.
Just on the complaints issue, how do you assess if it's like a formal complaint? When it's coming through a form, or even if it's an email or on the...
If somebody rings us, emails us, fills out an online form and say they want to make a complaint, there's certain criteria that's set out in the policy. It has to be, whatever they're complaining about has to have happened within the last 12 months. It can't be about a decision made through another process. Most of those we will treat as a complaint, unless they're anonymous, in which we can't. So yeah, we will take it as a complaint and we will pass it on for investigation.
No more questions? Brilliant. Thank you very much for that presentation. Cheers. So we will come to the final item on the agenda tonight, which is an update on diversity and inclusion.
Sorry, it's a bit... I'm Anne Webster and I lead on equality and diversity for the council. So I'm just going to go through a few slides about our governance, touch on the laws, and then a few of the initiatives we're dealing with. Thank you. Okay, so these are the equality laws that all of us, councillors and colleagues need to work to. So we've got the Equality Act 2010, which says that every private, public, voluntary organisation must not discriminate against people in employment or in services because of someone's protected characteristics. Do I need to go through all the, I think you know them now, don't you? Should do it from my September training with you all. Now, there's also, we've got another level of equality to work to, and that's our public sector equality duty. So that's us, police, fire and rescue, you know, the usual government, HMRC, you know, all the public sectors. So we have to comply with that, and there's two sections to that, and that's the general and specific duties, which I'll cover in a minute. We've got the national accessibility standards, and that's like any social care information has to be provided in accessible formats for our disabled service users, if it's a health-related thing. Everything else is under the Equality Act anyway, but the National Accessibility Standard is something that our social care, but also the NHS has to comply with. And then we've got the BSL Act 2022, and that's the government's going to be producing some guidance on that soon. But we, in Derby, we've got the highest population of deaf people in the UK from the last census. It used to be outside of London, but we've overtaken that now. So, you know, we need to be really on top of that, don't we? And we will be. Okay, thank you. Now, there's another duty in the Equality Act, and that's a duty to disabled people. And that recognises that our need, and I say our because I'm a disabled person, may be different from non-disabled people. So we must take account of this when we're making decisions. And it might mean treating disabled people more favourably than other people, and that's okay, that's within the law. And you see there, I've done our super duper wheelchair accessible lift in Moorway Sports Village. So proud of that. And then we've got the accessible toilets just as a symbol, because we know that, for example, people with hidden impairments get a lot of abuse, either for using the blue badge and also using accessible toilets, you know. So we put on all our toilets, we've put, remember, you can't always tell if someone is a disabled person, so people won't challenge them. Okay, thank you. Okay, so there were three aims in the general duty of the public sector duty, and that means getting rid of and eliminating discrimination, harassment and victimisation. It means advancing equality of opportunity and fostering good relations. So in all the work we do, they're the three things under the general duty that we have to comply with. Now, under that general duty, there's also the pay and due regard bit, and what that means is removing disadvantages. It means meeting different people's needs. It means encouraging participation in public life, really important one for us as, you know, public sector. It also, what I mentioned earlier, meeting the different needs of disabled people with the duty to make reasonable adjustments. Now, the other bit of the law is specific duties. Now, the specific one says every year we need to produce information about our services and how we've implemented the public sector equality duty. Those three aims I was talking about. We've also got to produce annual employment statistics as well. Now, at the end of the presentation, I put a link to my website, and you've got all the documents we have to publish on my website. I mean, at the moment, I'm just working out the new, this is last year's, what we did, and I'm just, or the year before, 22-23, I'm just doing 23-24 of all the stuff that we've been doing on equality and diversity over the last year. So early April, if you look on the website, you'll see the up-to-date version of that, and hot off the press, and it's not public, so I can't read it, is our new employment statistic. These will be going on, again, the end of March, early April, and these are our latest equality employment statistics of, you know, recruitment, people we've appointed, people we've interviewed, and the training we deliver, all that sort of stuff. So that's that. The other part of the specific duty is that we have to set equality objectives at least every 4 years. And we're working on that, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Now, the other way we pay due regard is equality impact assessment. And now, you as councillors, you're the ones making decisions, and it's so important that you think, equality, when you're making those decisions. Us as officers, we have to make sure that you know all the equality implications that there are connected with that proposal that we put to you. So what we do is equality impact assessments. I mean, if I say, has anybody not heard of an equality impact assessment? Do you all know what I mean when I say that? Okay. And you know, they're so useful. I think out of all the legislation, I think the EIAs are really useful. And officers say, oh, I've got to do one of them. Then they come back and they say to me, and that was really good, because it just gives space for them to think, equality, you know, and look through the protected characteristics, because an initiative might be great for one group of people, but for another, it might be negative. And I'll always give an example of Derby Homes putting some new security intercoms in older people's residential homes. And they put these up. One, they were too high for disabled people. Okay, they were great for older people, for personal safety. Hearing impaired people, deaf people, couldn't hear them. They were stainless steel, so terrible for visually impaired people because it just glares in the sun. So by doing an impact assessment, you know, you're able to think, right, that's great for that, but what can we do to make it more accessible for another group of people? So they're EIAs. And the thing is about EIAs, as long as we do our bit and present you with the EIAs, you can be held personally responsible if that decision is wrong that you make, and it could be deemed to be discriminatory. So remember to read your EIAs. Okay, thank you. So our governance, we've heard about governance from Jane and Lee. So around equality, diversity and inclusion, we've got a cabinet member responsible for equality and customer inclusion as well as cost of living. Now, I've been here a lot of years, and I can remember we had a cabinet member, well, it wasn't a cabinet member then, it was a committee member when I first started, and then we never had one again. So for me, it's been brilliant to actually have a cabinet member who's really supportive of me and the work that I do, and all our colleagues do, isn't it? Okay. We've also got councillor champions for equality groups. We've got an equality, dignity and respect policy, and a plan, and I forgot to put it. I mean, the plan is actually my working document that's full of scribble. That is full of equality, our equality objectives, and the actions that not just me, but, you know, all council colleagues are doing to implement the Equality Act and public sector equality duty. We've got a bullying, harassment and victimisation policy, not long produced. Now, the other thing that I'm so proud of is our Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Board. And Heather is one of the co-chairs of it, along with Sam and Emily, directors. We've got heads of service. It's a really high-level board, which, for me, it's real good backing. So I've got the EDI board and I've got the cabinet member as well. But also, I mentioned the councillor champions as well, again, who have really supported. Now, Jane and Lee both mentioned a new customer communication reference group, and I'll tell you why that was set up. You talked about complaints. Now, we've not had any formal complaints, but some members of our access group said, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that. So what do? We set up a group, didn't we? Because their stories are valuable to us to help. And we turned things around, didn't we? And what a great group of people we've got. And yet we have identified, and the members identified, let's broaden it up. Let's get some of our, you know, black, Asian and minority ethnic people on board. And that's what we're going to do. With comms, we're going to do some publicity, you know, put something on Facebook, say, do you fancy joining this group? You know, so I'm really proud of that group, and I think it's going places. So, you know, instead of sitting complaining about things, they wanted to do something to put things right. And we've got people with a range of impairments on there as well, you know, to help us. Employee networks we've got, and we're working with our diverse community in our hubs and farms. So that's all our governance, the people and the structures that I need, you know, to do my job properly. Thank you, Lee. And I just want to talk about our hubs, farms and networks in a bit more detail. Nothing about us without us. So we've got our equality hubs. We've got race, access and parts subgroup, deaf and hard of hearing people's commitment group, 60 Plus Forum and Voices in Action. And the 60 Plus Forum is just relaunching again. They were dwindling a bit, and then Heather and I thought we've got to do something about this. So we're having a meeting in April. I managed to get Councillor Jay Potter, you know, after the training I did, and I offered the box of chocolates. Well, he stood to his words, and he's our older people's champion. He's been working with Age UK and a few members of the 60 Plus Forum. So we're going to have a meet-up in the Jacob Rivers room with some cake and coffee, and get that group up and running again, because it's so important. Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Employee Support Net Group, that is thriving. Disabled Employers and Carers Network and Fibromyalgia Subgroup. We're also Disability Confident Leaders at the Council, which means we're at the top of the scale, but it also means that we can assess other employers. Because we're leaders, we can assess other employers. Now, I've been asked about twice, but I think I was so critical with one, they never come back to me again, so yeah. But it is, yeah. LGBTQ and Allies Employee Network. Now, we're going for we've signed up to the Rainbow Accreditation, you know, Derbyshire LGBT+. We used to be signed up to Stonewall, and then they had quite a lot of bad publicity, and it was expensive. So we thought, yeah, let's be local. They've got a really good accreditation scheme. Let's work with that. And a lot of the other public sector in Derby are signed up to them as well. And we've got a Menopause Friends group as well. Okay, yeah. Just before I move on to the other slide, I just want to say, that bit of paper there, all those people give us their time freely. Sometimes we can't even offer them a drink these days. You know, they come to our meetings in whatever weather, and I just want to tell you, well, to ask you to give a big shout out to all the volunteers that are so precious to us. You know, I couldn't do my job without them. They're also my rock as well, to be honest with you, because sometimes it can be quite lonely, but I've got Heather and my other colleagues, but okay. So, supporting national and international events. We take part in Pride, International Women's Day, Black History Season, Interfaith Week, Show Race and the Red Card, International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia and Windrush. And remember, International Women's Day is Friday. And we've got, on Saturday, we've got 2 International Women's Day events in the city. We've got Definitely Women, who is doing an event for deaf women together, and it's for deaf and deaf-blind women at the Museum of Macon from 9:30 till 3:30. But then we've got our usual annual one, big one, at the on the marketplace, 11 o'clock till 4 o'clock. So if you can get across to either, it'd be absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure, though, if men are allowed in the Definitely Women's one. It just say deaf women only. So I'm not quite sure about that. But, yeah, we've got stands at Definitely Women, and we've supported, financially, a little bit, supported the International Women's Day in the marketplace, but also providing an extra BSL interpreter for our stand at the Definitely Women one as well. Okay? you. So, out and about, supporting equality, diversity and inclusion. This is just some pictures of our colleagues giving up the weekend to support Derby Pride. But also, we've got the last year's International Women's Day. If you'd have asked me to come in a month's time, you'd have had this year's International Women's Day. So these are last year. And they are Ukrainian women from the Better Together Cafe who took up the call for International Women's Day. And let me tell you, those cards that they wrote about messages to women about International Women's Day are absolutely out of this world. I did feel quite embarrassed because I am Ukrainian. My dad was Ukrainian and I can't speak a word of Ukrainian. They can speak perfect English, but still. Okay, now this one, until I had the news, this was going to be a good one, but it's not, is it? What happened on Bass's Wreck last night, sex attack, reclaiming the night, makes me really upset to say. But anyway, we're trying to support stopping violence against women and girls. I mean, I don't know what gender, they've not released, have they, what gender the individual was, but whatever, it was a sex attack at night on our public park. So anyway, we supported stopping violence against women and girls, and in solidarity, the youth mayor led a white ribbon campaign, producing an amazing video, and I've put the link there because you've got to watch that video. It's absolutely amazing, and it's been nominated. They are one of 6 finalists for the National Crime Beat Awards, and it's in March the 19th. I think they're going to know the results in London, so keep fingers crossed for them. But yeah, I was out there putting orange ribbons on the council house on a very cold night. But the number of people that stopped me said, "What are you doing?" And when we explained, what an education, you know, it was great to get support. Okay, next slide, please, Lee. Taxis. Okay, we're working with taxi licensing and Charlie, of course, and Sam, because there's a shortage of taxis in Derby that can accommodate disabled people who use motorised wheelchairs. And also, there's a very low number of private hire wheelchair accessible taxis. It's really difficult, and some of the taxi companies won't even take an advance booking. So how can you live your life that way? If you've got a hospital appointment, you need to book. And they say ring up on the day, you know. So I was getting lots of complaints, and I do know that some complaints come through not formal complaints, like Jane says. Concerns. And I know council contacted me about it, but we are trying to do something. And on the Access Derby Facebook page, there's a guy who's got 15 private hire wheelchair accessible taxis. So that's looking good before we've even started our work. But anyway, now also, the government has introduced a new disability action plan. It's got 32 actions in it, and I'm not even going to be able to tell you what they all are, but one of them is taxis, and they've sent letters to all council licensing committees saying, get your finger out, basically. Make sure you've got the right taxis in your city for your disabled customers. Okay? Thank you. Now then, inclusive parks and changing places toilets. Again, this is actually in the disability strategy, but we got there first. I have kind of a rock, if you like, in the community, a guy called Rob Malcolm, who's absolutely amazing, and I just wish I could pay him, but I can't. He is our volunteer access consultant, if you like, and he helps us so much, and a team of us applied to the government for some funding and we got 200,000 for changing places toilets. Now, do you all know, I know some of you because you were there at the opening, but do you know what a changing places toilet is? Shall I explain it? Okay. I should have done a picture of it, shouldn't I? We've got one downstairs in reception, but for some disabled people, they can't use, or for some disabled people, the standard accessible loo is not accessible. And I'm telling you now, they have to be changed on the toilet floor, which is absolutely disgusting. So in Derby, we kind of led a Changing Places campaign, and we had one here in the council house. There's one in Derby on Museum of Making. Of course, we've got McMorway Sports Village and the arena. We wanted more. So then the government opened up this funding, and we were looking to get it. So we've got another one in the bus station. We've got one in the market hall, 6, and I can't remember, and then 3 in the parks. And this is the opening of one. We've got one in Arboretum Park, Ulverston and Markin. And the reason we picked Arboretum, because, you know, the St James Centre, they've got, I've forgotten what Janet Tristram organised it. What's the, I can't remember what the organisation, it's an organisation that supports disabled children and young adults. I'll think of it in a minute. But so we consulted with them, and they said, "Oh God, we'd love a Changing Places toilet because it's so difficult." So we put one in Arboretum. No. Oh, it's got an 8 in it. Fun ability. I don't know why it's got an 8, but it's got an 8 in it. Fun ability. Yeah, and they're based in the St James Centre, and they take young disabled people out. So there. But also inclusive playground. Now that middle one, that is Chad Park. I've been that young disabled child, watching my mates in the park and me not being able to play on it. So seeing that roundabout there is wow, you know, we've come a long way. BSL, from our access hub, one of the deaf people said, "Have you thought about having some BSL, you know, words and that, so children can learn some basic." So we've got that there, we've got the pirate ship, and then I had to put the inclusive cycling. Mark Smith and his, you know, inclusive cycling. And I was in Marketing Park, I'm actually at Pride, and there was 2, well, there's a visually impaired person and a sighted person, they want to tandem together, and they said, "Have you seen this? Do you want to go up there and have a go on this cycling? It's great." They didn't know who it was already. I said, "Oh, thank you for that." You know, but absolutely fantastic. Okay, thank you. So that's it for me. And if you'd like to check out my equality pages, there's the link. But please watch Munty's video on violence against women and girls because it's fantastic. And fingers crossed they're going to win. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you so much for that presentation. It's clear that there's a huge amount that's been going on and is going on from yourself and your team. Just a couple of other observations just on the Reclaim the Night campaign. Obviously, good luck to them in the, is it a competition, did you say?
Yeah, they were entered for the National Plan B Awards for doing that, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, good luck to them in that campaign. I think it does show how effective the youth mayor position can be on the council, so that's great to see. And then also, I guess, just a shout out to recognise some of the volunteers that you referenced.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that commit their time to support some of the work that you and the council do as well. So just a couple of initial things from me. Does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to ask Anne on? Any comments? Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, I just want to say I can feel your positivity and enthusiasm. It's amazing, and I think it's amazing what work you and your team do. Oh, okay. What you do?
You can take all the credit then. That's fine.
No, because it might be coordinating everything, because with mainstream equality here at the council, and it's working really well, isn't it? Because it's not just me, it's everybody, and I'm just kind of, sometimes I have to remind people, but most often I'm saying, thank you so much for doing that. So, yeah.
I will just ask one question, actually, on the point around taxis. How is that work going in terms of trying to get the number of accessible taxis increased? Certainly from the, you know, not the private hire sector necessarily, but on the council side.
The private hire. Sorry about that.
That's right.
You've changed this since I was last year. The private hire, that has been but that's why we started this originally, this kind of work, because the private hire is a real difficulty. Since COVID, the drivers have just not taxiing anymore, so there are very few accessible cabs around. But the other side, so there's 2 sections. There's the private hire availability, but then there's the motorised wheelchair user accessibility. Now, Rob, the volunteer, he's very into this taxi work as well, and he's spoken to somebody who kind of develops accessible taxis that can take motorised wheelchair users. And we're inviting him to the council in around May time, because there's a national taxi conference somewhere, and it might have some more stuff. And we're going to have a demo in the council house car park and invite other taxi drivers to have a look and try and make a business case of it, thinking, look, all these disabled people want to go out. You know, disabled kids want to get to the nightclubs and that. They can perhaps come home because the taxi ranks are outside, aren't they? But they can't get to it from their own home. And we're going to do a lot of publicity and make it like it's good business sense, because, you know, we can guarantee that, you know, they'll be well used. Because I've had a lot of concerns from disabled people and parents of disabled children. We can't get a taxi on, they won't do this, they won't do that. So we actually went to speak to Paul Simpson and Rachel when she was with us, and then that work started from there. So, you know, there is a new type of taxi that does take a motorised wheelchair user in safety, and so we hope for that taxi to be on the car park for people, you know, to come and have a look at it.
When it is arriving, do let councillors know. It sounds like it's something that might be of interest for us to come along and have a look at on the day as well. That'd be great. Cool, thank you very much, Anne. Thank you for that. The final item on the agenda is just our work programme, which is finished for the municipal year. So I'd just like to thank all councillors for your attendance and contribution at this committee this year. Thank you to you all coming along tonight and speaking, and thank you to Karen from Democratic Services for your support throughout the year. Much appreciated. Right, cheers all.